Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into a really buzzy topic today. Millennials versus Gen Z.
Oh, this should be good.
It's everywhere online, this whole generational clash thing. So whether you're like getting ready for a meeting with a younger team, or you're just trying to keep up with the latest trends, or maybe you just love a good generational debate, well, this deep dive is for you.
I'm ready to dive in.
We found this hilarious podcast script that basically throws millennials and Gen Z into a boxing ring and compares them on everything from work to tech, money, even pop culture.
I love it. Using humor to explore these real differences is genius.
Right. It's not just about like who's better. It's more about how those different generational experiences shape how they see the world.
Exactly. It gets at those underlying values and perspectives.
Okay, so let's get started. Round one, work and the infamous hustle culture.
Oh boy, here we go.
The script basically paints this picture of millennials as the kings and queens of the side hustle.
Always on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, constantly updating those profiles.
And secretly wondering if it's all worth it.
Uh-huh, totally. Then there's Gen Z. They're all about freelancing, working remotely from some, idyllic beach in Bali.
Living the dream.
Right. And they seem to prioritize passion projects over climbing that traditional corporate ladder.
It's a real shift in priorities and work values.
It is. I mean, millennials, many of us started working during the 2008 recession.
Yeah, that was a tough time to enter the workforce.
It was. And we were told to hustle, grind, climb that ladder, to get ahead.
That mentality was drilled into us?
It was. But Gen Z, they've seen the potential for burnout, for disillusionment.
They're looking for more meaning in their careers, more work-life balance.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if that whole 9-to-5 office job is even a thing anymore.
It might be going extinct.
Wow.
Companies are going to have to adapt if they want to attract Gen Z talent.
You think so?
Big time.
Hmm.
Think flexible hours, remote work options, a company culture that actually prioritizes well-being. Otherwise, they're going to miss out on a whole generation of workers.
That's a really good point. Okay, so speaking of adapting, let's move on to the tech arena.
The digital battleground.
Exactly. This script portrays Gen Z as the ultimate digital natives, coding circles around us, technologically challenged millennials.
They make us look like dinosaurs sometimes.
Seriously, we're still trying to figure out what an NFT is, and they're already building the metaverse.
I still don't fully get NFTs.
Me neither. But there's definitely some truth to that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Gen Z grew up with smartphones in their hands. Tech is like second nature to them.
They don't even remember dial-up internet.
I try not to.
Huh. Millennials, though, we kind of straddle that line, right?
We do. We remember life before smartphones, before social media took over.
So is it fair to say that millennials are the ones reminiscing about the good old days on Facebook while Gen Z is out there building businesses on TikTok and cashing in on those viral trends?
It's a simplified way to look at it, but yeah, it kind of captures how the generations use technology differently.
Like different purpose.
Right. For a lot of millennials, social media is about connection, about nostalgia.
Like those endless Facebook photo albums.
Exactly. Gen Z, though, they see social media as a tool.
A tool for
Creation, entrepreneurship, building their personal brand, actually making money.
So it's not just about passively consuming content. It's about actively shaping the digital landscape.
Yes. And that brings us to the evolution of social media influence.
Oh, interesting.
The script points out that while millennials might have pioneered Instagram and kickstarted a lot of trends, it's Gen Z that's turning those likes into lucrative careers.
Like those TikTok stars and influencers.
Right. They're monetizing their influence in a way that we honestly maybe didn't fully grasp.
It's fascinating how millennials essentially became the beta testers for social media, and then Gen Z swooped in and figured out how to really work it to their advantage.
They're not just influencing trends, they're building entire businesses around their online presence.
It's impressive, actually. But all this tech and social media, it can't be all sunshine and rainbows, can it?
Definitely not.
The script mentions this really interesting contrast. Gen Z is much more open about mental health, advocating for therapy, and setting boundaries.
Yeah.
While millennials, well, we might have kind of normalized hustle culture maybe to our own detriment.
It's a good point. Gen Z has grown up with so much more awareness and acceptance around mental health challenges.
It's definitely more talked about now.
Right. And they're much more likely to seek help, to prioritize self-care.
Makes sense. Millennials, we often faced a culture that kind of stigmatized mental health issues, glorified working long hours.
You were expected to push through no matter what.
So we invented self-care, but didn't always practice what we preached.
The irony. We popularize self-care, but we also internalize this pressure to constantly hustle and achieve.
It's a tough balance.
It is. It's like this constant tug of war between wanting to rest and feeling like you always need to be doing more.
Yeah, I feel that. Which
Yeah.
brings up this whole quiet quitting thing. That term is everywhere these days.
It's
But I'll be honest, I'm not sure I totally get it. Is it about actually quitting your job or is it about just doing the bare minimum?
it's a little more nuanced than that.
Okay.
Quiet quitting isn't about literally walking away from your job. It's more about setting boundaries, rejecting that idea that you always have to go above and
Uh,
beyond.
Pushing back against that hustle mentality.
Exactly.
So it's more about redefining work-life balance.
Yes. It's about creating healthier boundaries.
I like that. And this whole concept of quiet quitting, it kind of ties into the anxieties that a lot of millennials have around finances.
Oh, sure.
Let's be real, our generation has been hit with some curveballs. Student loan debt, a crazy housing market, wages that haven't kept up with the cost of
It's a
living.
lot to deal with.
The script definitely touches on this. It suggests that millennials are struggling financially, while Gen Z is more, financially savvy.
They seem to be.
Like they're investing early, embracing side hustles.
It's true. Millennials have faced some real economic challenges.
Graduating into a recession, it leaves a mark.
It does. But Gen Z, they've witnessed those struggles. And they seem to be approaching money with a more, pragmatic mindset.
So while millennials were told to follow their dreams, Gen Z is all about diversifying their income and preparing for a future that feels pretty uncertain.
They see financial stability as a key part of well-being, and they're not afraid to explore alternative paths to get there.
So they're not just waiting for a traditional job to provide security.
Nope. They're creating their own opportunities.
And it's interesting how those different approaches to work and money play out in their relationship with technology.
For sure.
The script mentions Gen Z's knack for using tech to create opportunities, especially with things like crypto and NFTs.
Yeah.
I've heard those buzzwords a million times, but I'll be honest, I'm still not totally sure I get them.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a confusing world.
It is. So let's try to demystify it a bit.
Okay, let's break it down.
Awesome. So first up, cryptocurrencies. I know Bitcoin is one.
Right. Bitcoin's like the OG
What
cryptocurrency.
are they exactly?
Well, they're basically digital forms of money, and they operate independently of, traditional banks and governments.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And they rely on this thing called blockchain technology, which is a really secure and transparent way to track transactions.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. But what about NFTs? Those are digital assets, right?
Exactly. Think of them as unique digital collectibles.
Collectibles. Like what?
It could be a piece of digital art, a music track, even a virtual trading card.
So digital only.
Yep. And what makes NFTs special is that each one is totally unique.
Like one of a kind.
Right. And ownership is verifiable through, you guessed it, blockchain technology.
So it's like owning the original Mona Lisa, but in the digital world.
Exactly. And this is where Gen Z really excels. They're comfortable with the tech, they get the potential value of digital assets, and they're not afraid to just, jump in and experiment.
It's like they speak a different language.
A digital language for sure.
And us older folks are still trying to figure out the alphabet.
We'll get there.
I hope so. But this fluency, it extends beyond just crypto and NFTs, right?
Absolutely.
The script mentions AI, artificial intelligence. Gen Z is growing up with AI, integrated into their lives.
And ways we couldn't have imagined.
Right. Think voice assistants, personalized recommendations, even content creation tools.
It's all powered by AI.
So they're not just passively consuming technology, they're actually using it to create, to build, to innovate.
Exactly. They're digital natives, but they're also like digital pioneers
Exploring this new frontier.
with a sense of fearlessness. That's pretty incredible to witness.
It is. And this pioneering spirit, it also comes through in their approach to pop culture.
It definitely does.
The script highlights this interesting contrast. Millennials clinging to nostalgia, while Gen Z is all about putting their own spin on the past.
Yeah.
Like it mentions millennials' love for, Friends and that whole Y2K fashion resurgence.
Right.
And Gen Z is more into shows like Euphoria and creating their own unique aesthetic trends.
It's like we're looking back with rose-colored glasses, and they're looking ahead.
With a fresh perspective.
Yeah. And for millennials, this nostalgia for the 90s and early 2000s, it makes sense.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it was a time before things felt quite so, complex and uncertain.
Like a simpler time? Before social media and this constant pressure to be on all the time.
Exactly.
And for Gen Z, growing up in a world shaped by, economic instability, social unrest, a global pandemic,
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
it really is. So maybe their pop culture preferences, they reflect a need to, grapple with the complexities of the present.
It's a way of processing their experiences.
And shows like Euphoria, while often pretty dark and intense, they explore themes that resonate with, what they're going through.
It's not just about entertainment. It's about making sense of the world they're inheriting.
So it's like they're rejecting the past.
I don't think it's quite that simple. They're engaging with the past on their own terms, remixing and recontextualizing it to create something new and relevant to their generation.
So they're taking the best parts of the past and blending them with their own style and perspective.
That's a great way to put it. Think about the 90s fashion revival. Gen Z isn't just copying those trends, they're reinterpreting them, adding their own flair.
They're making it their own.
Precisely. And that's pretty similar to what we're seeing with technology and even work culture.
It's a pattern.
It is. These patterns of adaptation and innovation, they're woven throughout Gen Z's whole approach to life.
That's a really interesting observation.
They're not afraid to challenge the status quo, to experiment, to find new and better ways of doing things.
And this willingness to challenge the status quo, it extends to their views on mental health, too.
Oh, absolutely.
We talked earlier about their openness and advocacy, which is a huge step forward.
It is.
But it also kind of raises questions about how we as a society, think about and approach mental well-being.
It's a good point. Gen Z is pushing us to have more open and honest conversations about mental health, to break down the stigma, and to create systems that actually support people's well-being.
Like they're saying, hey, it's okay to not be okay.
Exactly. And that it's okay to ask for help.
Which is a huge challenge to that whole, grin and bear it mentality that many of us were raised with.
It's a shift in mindset.
It is. And it's a reminder that we all have a responsibility to create a culture that prioritizes mental well-being.
For sure. So while this script is using humor to highlight these generational differences, it also makes us think about some bigger questions.
Like,
How can millennials and Gen Z learn from each other? What can we gain from these contrasting perspectives?
Yeah, those are great questions. Instead of viewing these differences as, a competition,
Yeah,
we could choose to see them as opportunities for growth and collaboration.
I love that. Imagine the possibilities if we could combine millennials' experience and work ethic with Gen Z's tech savviness and innovative thinking.
That would be unstoppable.
It would. It's a reminder that we're all on the same team working towards a shared future.
And that's a really important message. And maybe, just maybe, instead of focusing on who's winning this whole generational face-off, we can start asking, how can millennials and Gen Z actually work together to build a better world, a more sustainable world?
Now, that's a goal we can all get behind.
Totally. The script actually touched on some common ground, like their shared concern about climate change.
Oh, for sure. Both generations are definitely worried about the environment.
Yeah, millennials have been pushing for sustainability for years.
And Gen Z is even more passionate about taking action.
I mean, they've grown up with the effects of climate change being very real and very present in their lives.
It's not some abstract concept for them.
Right. It's their reality. They're inheriting this problem, but they're also living it right now.
Exactly. And they're demanding that, those in power actually do something about it.
It's not just about saving the planet for future generations for them. It's about protecting their own present.
It's about their future, their livelihoods, their health.
It's
It is. And it's pushing them to innovate, to come up with creative solutions, to push for real systemic change.
Which brings us back to this idea of collaboration. What if, instead of viewing each other as competitors, millennials and Gen Z saw each other as allies in this fight for a better future?
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Think about the progress we could make if we harness their combined energy, their passion, their different perspectives.
Right. Millennials could share their experience and knowledge, and Gen Z could bring their tech savviness and fresh ideas to the table.
It's a recipe for change.
It is. And it's not just about climate change. Both generations are grappling with issues like income inequality and the rising cost of living.
Yeah, those are huge challenges.
They are. And these are systemic problems that require systemic solutions, It's not going to be easy.
It's not.
Yeah.
But maybe, just maybe, by working together, by combining their unique strengths and perspectives, millennials and Gen Z can start to, dismantle those systems and create something more equitable and sustainable.
Something better.
Exactly. It's not about pitting generations against each other. It's about finding that common ground and working towards those shared goals.
It's about recognizing that we're all in this together.
Absolutely. This whole versus framing, while it can be fun and entertaining, it sometimes overshadows the fact that millennials and Gen Z have a lot more in common than we might think.
More than the internet would have us believe.
Right. We've talked about their shared concerns about, the environment, the economy, mental health,
But it goes deeper than that. There are shared values, too.
like authenticity, for example.
Both generations really value being true to themselves, expressing their individuality.
And they're both pretty skeptical of, like, traditional institutions and hierarchies.
They're looking for more transparency, more accountability, more like realness from those in power.
And they're not afraid to speak up,
Right.
to challenge the status quo.
They're definitely not afraid to use their voices. So yeah, there are differences, different experiences, different perspectives, different ways of approaching the world.
For sure.
But ultimately, I think they're united by this shared desire for a better future.
A future that's more just, more sustainable, more equitable.
A future where everyone has a chance to thrive.
That's a powerful vision.
It is. And on that note of unity and shared purpose, I want to turn it over to you, our listener. We always love hearing your thoughts, so we want to know what resonated with you most about this exploration of millennials and Gen Z.
What insights have you gained from your own interactions with these generations?
We invite you to share your experiences, your thoughts, your hot takes on our social media platforms. We're all part of this ongoing conversation, right?
We are, and by sharing our perspectives, by listening to each other, I think we can all learn and grow together.
Learning from each other is key.
It is, because understanding ultimately that's how we build bridges and create that better future we're all talking about.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with one final thought, a challenge, an invitation to think a little deeper.
I'm intrigued.
Beyond the, funny comparisons, beyond the playful rivalry, what opportunities exist for millennials and Gen Z to really learn from each other and collaborate with each other?
How can they combine their strengths and experiences to create something truly innovative and impactful?
These are questions worth exploring, both individually and, as a society.
They are, and hopefully this deep dive has given you the knowledge and insights to start asking those questions, to start those conversations.
Exactly. Remember, it's not about picking sides. It's about recognizing the value of each generation's unique contributions.
And finding ways to harness those contributions to create a world that works for everyone.
That's the ultimate goal.
It is. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep the conversation going.